Hi, I wanted to talk to you today about cleaning your harp in this COVID environment that we have. People are concerned with how they can keep their harp disinfected to the best of their ability, the best of what we can offer. There is a wonderful download that you can get from on the Salvi website on their news link that will show you, that gives you some examples about and information about keeping your harp clean and disinfecting. So I'm actually going to show you a few things here, what they recommend and seems to be working. Right over here, I'm going to show you some hand sanitization gel. This is going to be used on the strings. I have, this is your basic kind of Purell product. I'm not endorsing any particular product, but this is a nice one. I like this one. This is what we're going to use because when I put it on my hands and I disinfect, it actually dries up fairly quickly and evaporates fairly quickly, and it doesn't leave behind a residue, a hand cream. This, on the other hand, looks clear. It looks like the same type of product. This one actually has aloe and cucumber something in there, but this hand sanitizer leaves a bit of a moisturizer and a residue behind, and I will not use this. It's good for your hands, but it's not going to be good to be leaving residue behind on the strings. So what we're going to do when we clean this is we're going to get I'm going to have two little rags, because you have to remember that everything gets exposed that you've exposed in this cleaning process is pretty much going to be destroyed. You're going to want to throw it out and put it into the bin. So I just got a couple of little pieces of cloth. This is just an old t-shirt, 100% cotton, and I've got one to dry and one to soak up, so to do the cleaning with. So I'm going to take the rag. What's this? Okay, I'm going to take the rag and put a good amount on there, soak it up into the rag. Now I'll take the cloth and I'm going to clean the strings. Now this is something that I recommend. I don't recommend doing this cleaning on the bass wires. I'm not sure what we should do about bass wires, because in almost all of these cleaning products, the disinfectant is alcohol, and the alcohol is also in water. So there's water in there, and water and wire metal rarely ever gets along. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to wipe the string down right in the area here where it gets plucked. Go over to the next string. Wipe it down, wipe it down. Okay, I've got a couple of those strings cleaned up. Then I'm going to take my dry cloth, wipe it down. I'm actually moving the location on the dry cloth that I'm wiping it down with every time. Just moving it around my fingers. So that's what we could do to sanitize our strings and help out. Why I'm not suggesting that you go all the way up and down the strings, because if you get up on the top on the other side over there, which you'd probably be standing on that side, you can start hitting the metal and bumping into the metal. And let's be honest, nobody's plucking the strings up in here, so there's no way that it could get contaminated. So once we have the strings taken care of, that's how we do the strings. Now I'm going to talk about the wood and the body of the harp. Now over here I've got a couple of things. I've got a bowl of lukewarm water. It's room temperature water with a little soap dissolved in it. And then I have a couple of rags. Remember, these rags are all going to be thrown out, so if you just get an old shirt or an old disposable rag, that's fine. I do not recommend using paper towels or any of those products like that. 100% cotton is what you want to use. You could use a microfiber cloth also. So I'm going to take, we want to clean the body, clean the harp, especially where it's going to be touched, where people come into contact with it. So I'm going to take a nice cotton cloth and clean the instrument. So just put it in there, and I'm going to wring it out so it's just damp. Matter of fact, this is just a drying towel. So I'm going to take this, and people always ask me how to clean your harp. Now, could you come in over here with the camera and take a shot of this? Now you can see where this is just grime. This is sweat that's developed on the instrument from usage over time. So we're going to take this, wipe it off. If the virus is present, it can hide out inside that sweat. That's what it is from. So you dried that off. I wiped it down, and then I dried it off immediately. Now, it's not completely clean. As this dries, you're going to find that it feels a little gummy, and that gumminess is a little bit of the sweat that's left behind. Stop cleaning. You have to be careful with your finishes, especially that the finishes can be semi-permeable. It feels to you like it's glass, like it's plastic, like nothing's going to get through it. But actually water does go in. It does get absorbed into these finishes. If you leave it exposed, it can actually get through there, work its way through the finish and get to the wood. When it gets to the wood, it's a really problem, because then the wood sucks it in, the wood swells up, and what happens is it cracks, it pushes the lacquer out, and then when the wood dries, it pulls away and it leaves the lacquer or varnish or whatever you have on your harp, whatever compound it is free. It's basically kind of floating there. And you'll see one of the telltale signs of that is you'll see a whiteness underneath it. It's like a cloudiness. It's because the finish is actually popped off of the wood. So we don't want to soak it up. So here I've got it pretty darn clean and dried up. So this is what you want to do with your harp. Once your harp is clean, it's easy to maintain. One of the problems is that like this, once it builds up here, like right now, I can feel it. It's pretty much dried at this point all the way, but I can still feel this gumminess. But I'm gonna stop and rest and let this all completely dry out, and then come back at it again. And it may take 2 or 3 or even 4 times to get this clean. But once it's clean, it's easy to maintain. Just remember, do not soak it, do not leave it exposed to water for a long time. That's a problem. So another thing that I want to show you, and that is, we don't only touch our harp, but we touch our dolly. Oh wait, before I go, there's a spot up in here that people forget about a lot, and that's right up in here, where harpists, when you rest, when you're doing counting, you'll rest your hand up in here. I see this a lot in harp studios, where it's very dirty up in here. So you want to clean that up in here too, just as well. I would be cleaning the active zones from about halfway up, to up here. Do not get the brass ring wet. If you get that wet, it's probably going to turn black or dark brown. And clean the other side as well. If your harp has a handle, as this one does, that's a tough thing. If you don't touch the handle, or if your students don't touch the handle, I would just leave it alone. So the other thing is too, we don't only touch our harp, we're also touching our dollies. So our dollies will get could possibly become contaminated. So this is a non-alcohol wipe. This was from you can tell the brand. This is a non-alcohol wipe, but on the dolly you could use an alcohol wipe, because we're not worried about hurting dollies very much. The finish on the dollies. Plus it'll evaporate pretty quickly, but I don't recommend, and Salvi and no manufacturers recommend using the alcohol cleaners directly on the wood of the harp. That it could possibly be damaging. So, but with the dollies, we want to wipe down the dollies where we touch them, especially here, all along the sides, and then down the sides over here. And why are we doing it down here? Because when we're loading the harp in and out of the car, of course, we're going to grab this area down in here to load it in and out. And we just go up and down, up and down. And there, we've taken care of it. So I hope this helps you, and please keep safe and healthy. Thank you very much.